Hey everyone, it's a college football Tuesday at what some of you folks like to say, The Voice. And it's a beautiful day here, hopefully a beautiful day there. Appreciate you stopping by. We're going to talk some college football with all of you. If you're not aware, you know that we've got some tech adversity this week, but we will get past that here in the next couple of days. In the meantime, we will not be able to do certain things on this show, but that's okay. We can talk college football on the phone with all of you. Amazon links in the description section of all these beautiful videos. Please grab the Amazon link that is in this video description and the others and shop on Amazon. All right, we hope to be joined by Leanne Herring at some point during our discussion today with all of you. We've got the Iowa show coming up at 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central. Leave those comments and questions there in the chat. And again, be patient, bear with me as I work through this. I'm not going to be able to post certain things, and it was extremely delayed yesterday trying to post some comments to the screen. So you guys have fun in the comment section. You can make fun of me behind my back now because I probably won't see it. Although, let's give this a shot. There should be. I don't know why I can't see this today. All right. Say hi to me so I at least know that you're there. We've got 11 on the line. All right. College football on a Tuesday in late May. Pretty dead. Jason, good to see you. And the new laptop showing up on Wednesday, so hopefully we'll have that for Wednesday's show. Mike, good to see you. Man, I posted this on a short earlier today. You can check it out, but I pretty much sized it up this way. We know that this payroll is coming in college football. It is coming soon, and it's coming for 25 and 26. And so, especially for you types that love to be general manager of your fantasy football team and love to be the general manager of your, I'm not even going to say this right because I am completely out of the video game universe. I don't even know the terminology, but basically you have your video game, your video system, gaming system team that you are the owner and general manager of, and you carry it from season to season, and you can build it and build it and build it and give contracts and do all those things as a general manager. I hear Cam Underwood, our guy from Miami, State of the U, talk about this all the time. And you play general manager, you play owner. Why don't you do this with your college football team? We know what the parameters are going to be for basically what, in all practicality, is going to be a salary cap for these schools this year at $20.5 million. Now, that's for the entire athletic department. Jason, good to see you. Mike, good to see you. Hopefully others will say hi to me. At least be kind and neighborly and say hi. So anyway, $20.5 million for the entire athletic budget for payroll for all the sports, and most of that's going to go to football. So take $18 million. Look at your football team. Who's your favorite football team? Who's your team? Take your team. How would you pay them $18 million? Look at the roster. How would you approach it? And probably the best way to go about it is not just to pick out players and try to throw money at them, but obviously is to set up a structure, set up a format, set up a model that is going to be used with certain tweaks every year to pay these players. And keep in mind, they talk to each other. Jackson, good to see you, man. And so it's an interesting exercise, I think, and one that I'm probably going to take on here. Maybe I'll start with Ohio State. And the tricky part of it is, of course, paying the players before they perform that season. Paying them based on how good you think they are. Now, we know Caleb Downs is pretty darn good. We know that he's pretty damn good. That's Caleb Downs. Most of these guys have a minuscule track record or resume compared to a Caleb Downs, and even Caleb Downs could have an off season. So the task of taking that, let's say $18 million and paying a college football team is an interesting one. And again, we will probably take that on here in the next few weeks here at the Voice of College Football. We will run down some teams and I'll let you know how I'm going to pay these players. And you might want to do the same thing. And again, I'm not just going to spitball and throw money at players and say, all right, I'm doing Clemson and we're going to give Cade Klubnik $2 million and then I'm going to work it from there. No, we're going to set up some kind of system. Dave's here. NFL model. Yeah, it is. To a large extent, it is an NFL model. It is like a salary cap. It is a budget that each school is being given. And the first question that I would like to have answered, that to me is going to be intriguing, is to see how the different schools distribute the money between the athletic programs, whether that's going to be simply based on how much money they bring in, or is there going to be some gender equity involved? Money given to everyone, money given to the rowing team. If they're scholarship athletes, I don't know. But the more intriguing part to me is going to be the individual salaries for these players, which we will hear about through the grapevine. There will be reports. There's going to be scuttlebutt out there, but we're not going to have an official listing, I don't believe, of these salaries, although they're state universities, mostly state universities. Dave's here says basically you pay the value of the position. Mike says it's dumb and pointless. What's dumb and pointless? Are you talking about what I'm talking about? The exercise that I'd like to go through, or are you just talking about that we are at this place in college football? Highlander Gunn, appreciate you. NFL model, does that mean powder puff football? Kickoffs in the future, yes. I don't like what's happened to the whole kickoff situation. That is one of the dumbest rules in all of football, has been what's happened with the kickoffs. Doesn't make any sense. I don't like rules that go against the structure of the game, that go against the constructs of the game. Every spotting of the football has to do with a particular team earning that spot of the football, except for the kickoff. If you choose to catch a kickoff at the 3-yard line, then that's where the ball should be. How does it magically wind up at the 25-yard line? You catch the kickoff at the 3-yard line, catch the kickoff at the 22-yard line, and they both end up at the 25-yard line. That doesn't make any sense. The end zone is different. The end zone is obviously treated differently than the rest of the football field. Yeah. Don't like the kickoffs. Mike says NIL will still exist. Yes, it will. And continuing on our NFL path, our NFL comparison, the NIL is basically the endorsement structure of professional sports. So this $20.5 million is the salary cap and is the income and the payroll going to these college football rosters. And the NIL are the endorsements. That's what that is. So again, I think that's, again, for you general manager types out there that love fantasy football, that love building these rosters and these teams and these organizations on your game system, what is it called even? Do we have any video game guys in here? Guys and gals that love video games? Then let me know what it's even called now. I don't even know. College football 2025, whatever it is. We asked a question on yesterday's show about how much you care about college football today versus, let's say, a few seasons ago. I want to look at the results, the current results of this poll, and I apologize because I cannot post those because of our situation right now today, but I'm going to check them out. So if you would like to take part in our poll about how much you care about college football, as Jason says, let's just go back to the bundles of cash handed out in McDonald's bags. Let's just go back to that. Dave's here. Ward Manuel said he is breaking it up by revenue earned. Football and basketball make like 95%. There you go. So I think most schools will approach it that way, and I agree with that. That's the way it should be. So we posted on our community page on Monday. Our post is, I don't know if you can read that. I can't see what I'm showing you. How much has NIL and the transfer portal affected your love for college football? So far, we've got 302 votes. Maybe I'll post this on Twitter as well to get some more votes. 302 votes. Answer number one, I'm slightly annoyed. 45%. So that's most of you. Most of you are saying, I don't like it. It annoys me, but I'm slightly annoyed. It's not a huge factor. It's not really affecting my status as a fan. Slightly annoyed, 45%. I'm sick to my stomach, 25%. That's still a pretty big number. 25% of you sick to your stomach. 10% checked out, which is not good for me if you're checked out of college football. And then no change for 21%. So almost a fourth of you say absolutely no change. None of this business has done anything. So Mozart, the poll question this week, it's on the community page. And again, because of my situation with my laptop and going off my phone right now, I cannot show it to you. Get my new laptop on Wednesday, so hopefully this will be in play and we'll be all back to normal on Wednesday, Thursday at the latest, hopefully. But the poll question is, how much has NIL and the transfer portal affected your love for college football? A, I'm slightly annoyed. B, I'm sick to my stomach. C, I've checked out. D, no change. Jason says, NIL doesn't bother me too much, but players transferring over and over is annoying. Maybe that should be my next question, be about the transfer portal. Dave says it makes it more interesting. And that is a good part of it. And that's how I also compare it to the NFL, but it doesn't compare to the NFL. Well, you can make a comparison to the NFL, but this is the one way we're citing all these other ways in which college football is similar to the NFL now, but this is one way in which it's gone from 0 to 100 and right past the NFL model is transfer portal versus free agency. And as soon as this went into effect, 3 summers ago, July 1st, 22, I think that was the magic date with the transfer portal, people likened it to NFL free agency, which sounded right until I gave it about 3 minutes of thought. Then I said, no, it's not like NFL free agency. Because the NFL got it right. And the NFL gets it right with almost everything. And I know a lot of people that watch the show and follow me and take part in our conversations, you are not NFL fans, but you got to admit the NFL gets almost everything right. They do almost everything right. Now, they've lucked out a few times. They've been very fortunate in certain points of their history by baseball's decline, and some other things that have happened have fallen into their lap. But the NFL, boy, the NFL gets it right in this way, that I believe that you, the sports fan, you, the football fan, me, the football fan, we generally like stability. We like our team. We like our players. We get attached to them. We want to feel as though, this is my team. These are my guys. Especially in professional sports when they can be on your team for 10 or 15 years. Wow. But even in college, okay, I followed this guy's recruitment, and I followed it for like a year and a half, and then he signed with us. And then, he stepped onto the field a few times as a freshman. Then he redshirted. Then he got to play as a sophomore, and he got so much better as a junior. Now he's a senior, and wow, you build up this attachment and watching them grow and develop and get better. Or maybe, like Trevor Lawrence, hit the field running the first day, and they're a superstar. And so you want most of your team to stick around. You're attached to them. You probably root for a good team. I'm guessing just about everybody I'm talking to right now and who will watch this video, which is going to certainly be in the hundreds of thousands, that you almost all root for good teams. So you like most of your players because they're good players and they win games, and they win 80-some% of their games. That's the college football fan that I generally am talking to. If you root for a bad team, a common doormat, put it in the chat. If you root for anybody that's not a blue blood or a sometimes elite school, elite football program, I'd like to see those posted in the chat. I want to hear from Wake Forest fans, Purdue fans, Kansas State fans, Stanford fans, etc. But I'm going to assume I'm talking to the Blue Bloods. So you like your team, you want to stay with your team, you want to get attached to these guys and for them to stay with, and that's been the upheaval of the transfer portal, obviously, of course. But where the NFL gets it right is they've got the stability and the continuity of these rosters staying together. But they have that slice of excitement called free agency, where your team went 8-9 last year in the NFL, and you know they need to get better, and you like the offense. The offense is really good, but the defense sucks. We need to hit free agency and help the defense. And you can go out there and do that. And that's exciting when, as an NFL fan, you sign 2 or 3 players through free agency. And sure, it sucks that you lost your favorite tight end. He left, but you picked up 3 key defensive players, and you've got hopes that you're going to be better because, you know what, we can make up for our star tight end, but man, we got 3 impact players on defense. And it makes it exciting that you still kept your team, but you added 3 major pieces on defense. And that whole free agency bit is exciting in the NFL because it's a perfect balance of stability and excitement and intrigue and change. But in college football, the instability is through the roof. So that has to be addressed. That has to be addressed. I will let you know that we are starting a newsletter here at the Voice of College Football. And I want to make sure. Oh, I have. Hopefully, Leanne, Hang in there. Let me make sure I can play. There we go. I did it. I am
We
so
are back.
sorry. I am so sorry. I could not see you that entire time. I hope you've not been waiting.
I've been there less than a minute. It's okay. I know that we're
Okay.
all battling technology. Even my computer was about to start stuff. I said it's just been a week of technology for all of us, the voice of college football, trying to get our gear intact, but we are here.
The only reason that I knew that you were there was this little message showed up at the bottom and just had a little number one. And I thought, what's going to happen if I click on that? And there you are. So, how are you today?
Doing good, doing good. Just hopping on here. Busy day, of course. We know wrapping up a big weekend of a lot of official visits. Of course, Georgia. We talked a little bit about the scavenger hunt. Florida having another stellar weekend, but we had to. I felt like we had to come on today, have a week edition of the Crew and Coup before we, get in tomorrow to some big details. Hopefully, your laptop will be back and we'll be ready to dish a lot of details on the big moves that are being made this weekend. Of course. Um, a lot of five stars still uncommitted, but of course we know that as in the heart of official visit season, a lot can happen and a lot definitely is happening. So kind of want to highlight it. Some of the guys, some of our five stars that are still on the board, some that are committed, but plenty of programs making big moves for these guys, and rightfully so. Like I says, as the summer heats up, official visits are gonna mean a lot. Recruitment rumblings definitely are going to mean a lot, and like we said, as the dominoes fall, as some bigger programs, we saw it last week, starting with Jackson Cantwell, his big commitment to Miami, how that um, pretty much set tone for a lot of bigger other offensive linemen, fellow five stars we talk about, of course, Felix Ojo, who we're going to talk a little bit about here, and Manny Anacho, how it sets them up, with other programs. So again, kind of focus on the five stars. It was also a big weekend for tight ends, especially for Lane Kiffin down in Oxford. Not only did he host the number one tight end in 2026, he happened to get lucky because of a basketball tournament happening down in Memphis that he was able to also visit, who we caught up with Ahmad Hudson, the number one tight end in the 2027 class, who is also quite the hoopster. So a lot going on, a lot of action. So let's get to it.
Yeah, so we got about 52 people on the line. So if any of you are not aware, Leanne and I get together every Wednesday night for On the Move. So that's our recruiting and transfer portal update live show. We take calls on Wednesday night. So be here tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central with Leanne and myself. All right, Leanne, I know that you sent me a list of names. Unfortunately, I can't access them on my phone. So I know that they're all headliners, top notch, 4 and 5 stars that you wanted to hit on to let us know what is the latest.
Well, the biggest thing I think this weekend, of course, we know with the official visits kind of going on, there's still a lot of top five stars that are committed, but also uncommitted. So I'm going to kick it off with the guy that everybody's talking about, the nation's top wide receiver, LSU commit, Tristan Keys. This has been a guy who's been one of the, since his commitment to LSU, Mark, of course, we know he's just a game changer, game wrecker when it comes to defenses. I mean, talk about a guy, a playmaker who can challenge every phase of the defense, extremely athletic, superior skills. Like I said, he's got that separation that I often talk about in cornerbacks. Man, when you get this guy get the ball in his hands, I mean, he's elusive. There's no surprise that some of the schools continue to target him, especially during official visit season, in hopes that they can try to even get a flip. So, of course, we know he still remains strongly committed with LSU. He's become one of LSU's top recruiters, and we say a lot of these guys, once they commit verbally to the program, they take on the recruiting hat, and they become the key recruiters on these, especially on these weekends of official unofficial visits and also heading the camp season. So Tristan Keys definitely remains loyal, but again, there's still a lot of programs in the hunt. um, the one that we're really watching closely, that we always know has been there in the thick of it, has been Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels. We know that Tristan Keys, of course, hailing out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. We know that being the top player out of the state, also the top wide receiver, that it's just been notorious that Lane Kiffin, the past couple of recruiting cycles, has been able to land the top kid coming out of Mississippi. So you can bet that Lane Kiffin is trying to do the same thing in staff. So Ole Miss is very much in the hunt, and they are still continuing to recruit. Tristan Keys Hart. We talked about it a couple, early on in our Ole Miss live show that quickly following the Ole Miss his LSU commitment that Tristan Keys was back in Oxford, and it kind of showed a little bit of light that there was still a lot of hope. Another team, of course, that we know that has been heavy in the mix for Tristan Keys and still coming on strong, looking to get him, back on campus and possibly for an official, has been the Tennessee Bulls. We know that their wide receiver room has really been looking for an overhaul. We know that with now Joey Aguilera being, flipping places down there, that they're definitely looking to build on the talent down in Rocky Top. So again, Tennessee remains very strong in the hunt. But of course, that plenty of guys are knocking on the door. But the one that I think we really need to watch for, that we're really hearing lately, aside from Ole Miss and Tennessee, that really have not let off from the commitment of Tristan Keys Mark since his commitment to LSU, is Texas A&M. Texas A&M has really been coming on strong from what we're hearing. They're trying to get him to an official visit. Of course, College Station, not too far off from Hattiesburg. So Texas A&M is going to be really one to watch if they're really pushing for another official, definitely pushing to get Tristan Keys in camp again. Like I said, this is a kid who's electrifying. I've had the chance to see him this off season. And I mean, he is just an exceptional route runner, super cutty, super choppy, and his hands are just something dynamic. Again, it is no surprise that despite his commitment to LSU, and we talked about the momentum that LSU has had in this recruiting season, not just through the portal, but right now Tristan Keys is one of those top 3 5 stars, and LSU boasting the most 5 stars right now in this 2026 recruiting class. So not only is LSU going to have a long summer ahead of him trying to keep Tristan Keys intact, but there's plenty of programs. But again, Ole Miss, Tennessee still remain very strongly. Really watch out for Ole Miss and see where they go. We expect that that there probably will be an official to Tennessee, but Texas A&M is really getting in the heat of the battle. So that could be the dark horse again. Opportunity awaits, and Tristan Keys definitely has a lot on his plate, but a lot of doors opening for him for the number one, top wide receiver in the country and player to come out of the SIP.
Yeah, a lot of nervous time for Brian Kelly because mid-May all the way to December, 7 months to try to fend off the likes of Texas A&M and Tennessee and Ole Miss for maybe the best wide receiver in the country. And just a side note to that, in terms of the Tennessee wide receiver core, just in the last few weeks, some sad news about Brew McCoy, who had to step away from football and retire from football. Former USC commit who played for the Trojans, but really found himself at Tennessee as a fine wide receiver, would have played in the NFL, but he had to step away from football. But yeah, that's going to be a fight to the finish that's going to be interesting to track, with those 4 SEC powers going after Tristan Keys.
And you really hit it, Mark. And what do we always say? This is discussion we have. These guys, until I'm channeling Ruby right now, because until the checks are cashed come December, till they sign on the dotted line, no matter how verbally committed they are to a program and how much a program wines and dines them, that's one of the toughest challenges that coaches are going to face, even with a program like LSU who's thriving with the most 5 stars. Again, it's a long way till December. And we've seen it too when these rooms start to get crowded. As much as you want to recruit elite level talent, at the same time, a lot of these kids can easily be turned off by some of the rooms getting too crowded, unless you're a quarterback and you're more than happy to go down to UCLA, because apparently that quarterback room stays saturated. But again, that's one of the toughest things I think that coaches are facing, especially with the high school recruiting pool, is having to keep their roster intact. We talked about it, trying to keep rosters as we navigate through that winter portal, that spring portal that's now closed. But man, going into these summer months, because recruiting looks a lot different right now, May and June are really where you're going to have to build strong enough relationships in person to be able to keep it. But yeah, it's going to be a long summer for some of these programs looking to keep some of their top guys, and plenty of teams trying to poach. But again, so many factors coming into play here. So, but Tristan Keys is going to be a hot summer recruitment nonetheless.
Leanne, I envision like a war room there at your household with, like, I don't know, whiteboards all over the place with everything that you track. I just cannot imagine. So who's next on the board that you wanted to tell us about?
Well, Zion Ali is a guy that we've talked about. He's based out of St. Francis, right there in the heart of Baltimore, Maryland. Maryland, another five-star guy who Maryland has been able to keep intact. And he's, one of the top edges in the country. I believe he's in a 247 Sports has him right now. We know that all the five-star fluctuations ratings have been, as we do these in-person evaluations, are going and coming. But I think right now he's still ranked as the number two overall player and the number one edge rusher in this 2026 class. Again, Maryland has done a fantastic job being able to keep this in-state talent. But again, with so many teams looking to improve the position at the edge, Zion Ali has been a guy that many people are still trying to hope that they can get him. Trying to convince him that perhaps that something that is glitter is going to be gold, and sometimes it is greener on the other side. But again, the 6'3", 3.5, 202-pound wrecking ball. Like I said, this is a guy who just is a game changer. He's physical. He creates chaos. But some of the schools, that have been looking at him that we're going to keep close watch. Oregon has really been pushing for him. Texas A&M, Penn State are some of the schools, of course, that we know have been in the thing. But those are the names that we know would play big into the NIL. But like I said, we haven't been hearing a lot about Auburn, but leave it to Hugh Freeze to be cooking up something. There may be a freeze warning coming in despite the hot summer that's ahead down in Alabama. We've always said Hugh Freeze has been a heck of a recruiter. Despite all those big names that we mentioned, like Miami, Texas A&M, they have not been able to get Ali on campus um, for a visit since his commitment to Maryland, but they sure as hell have been trying. But this weekend, Auburn, Hugh Freeze, they won that in the cake. Being able to get Ali down to Auburn. So Auburn is going to definitely be the one to watch because, like we say, we know the NIL, we know the momentum going into this, but when it comes this time of official visit season, Mark, you got to track the visits. And being able to get Zion Ali, just the top player overall as an edge rusher, who's really not, he's entertaining calls, but really hasn't made that move except for this weekend to go to Auburn. So again, Auburn is sitting really well and there could be a flip brewing from the ACC to the SEC. So definitely Zion Ali will be one to watch. Miami, Texas A&M coming on strong. No visit set yet, but Auburn has been successful this weekend getting a lead at campus. So we'll see what their next move is to stay in the hunt and try to flip the number one edge rusher in 2026, perhaps to the SEC.
Again, everyone, we want to lock it in with all of you. Wednesdays, 8:30 Eastern. It's our On the Move show with Leanne. So get here and you can call in and talk to Leanne and myself every Wednesday night, 8:30. And of course, Monday through Friday, we're here at 4 p.m. Eastern time, except for our late night call-in show. So if anybody wants to choose the late night call-in show, it's your opportunity right now. Just leave it in the chat. When do you want me to go live this week? Late night. All right, Leanne, next on the list, who do we have?
Well, I can't talk a little bit about recruiting rumblings in our Crew and Crew segment unless I'm talking about an offensive tackle. Felix Ojo, Lake Ridge, Mansfield, Texas is a name that you and I have dissected, have talked a lot about. Texas has always been in the hunt. Of course, another talented guy out of the Lone Star State, the number 5 overall recruit, Mark, in this 2026 class. And after that commitment of Jackson Cantwell and those dominoes fell, he rose as the number 1 offensive tackle in this 2026 class. A lot of guys are trying to knock on his door. Like I said, not only one of the top uncommitted prospects in this 2026 class, but also, a guy who can really get it done in the trenches, powerful size. We talked about getting to see him up close and personal, this past December at the Navy All-American Bowl. Really checks off a lot of the boxes. Again, Texas has been in it from the jump. Everybody has felt really strong about Texas, but as the dominoes fall, we talked a little bit about Oregon, Ohio State making a push. But again, leave it to Florida and Billy Napier to pull one. And I really like where Florida is coming in. We know that he was on a visit. He took his first official visit this weekend down to Gainesville. And man, we heard that it was a really solid visit. And Florida now is definitely in the mix. And again, you got to love all those ties that come in. You got DJ Lagway down there. I can already hear the pitch from DJ Lagway talking to Felix Ojo. Let's bring Texas down here to Florida. Let's win some natties. All that kind of stuff. And again, Florida really has the opportunity. I'm not saying that Texas doesn't have a place, Ohio State, some in Oregon, but those programs are a little bit more saturated when it comes to bringing in a young player like Felix Ojo, which, like I said, if you were going to bet or bank on this kid, he's going to translate. But I think at Florida, what's enticing to Florida is what I always say: there's an opportunity for this kid, and the direction that Florida's going, their willingness to take on not only a five-star player like Ojo, but give him the opportunity to be an instant impact player. And of course, like I said, there's got to be a relationship, that Texas connection with DJ Lagway and Felix Ojo. Despite being in separate areas, a lot of those kids on those circuits, especially fellow five stars from one five-star to another, despite being in different recruiting classes, have a connection. So here we come. Felix Ojo seemed like the Texas Longhorns were on their way to sealing this deal. They were going to have to, shake off Oregon and possibly Ohio State. But here comes Billy Napier and the Florida Gators looking to gain big momentum in this trenches, and they definitely made a lot of segues. So again, Felix Ojo, the number one offensive tackle in the country, could be heading down to Gainesville and leaving the Lone Star State for the swamp.
Good stuff. Leanne, who else is on the board for you?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and do the 1-2 punch. I talked about, Lane Kiffin likes to play things close to the vest. And when it comes to recruiting, he makes big moves in silence. But the last guy I'm going to be talking about, of course, is Mark Bowman, 5-star tight end, hailing out of California. He's a guy that everyone's been looking for. Of course, we know that he's the number 31 overall player in this 2026 class, but the number one tight end. We thought that Georgia was making a lot of momentum here. They've had a lot of buzz surrounding his commitment. There's been, of course, a lot of comparison with him to Brock Bowers down there, Texas, the usual suspects, Oregon, Ohio State, all making a big push. But he kicks off his official visit season down in Oxford, down in the SIP, visiting Lane Kiffin this weekend. Well, from what we've heard, we haven't had a chance to talk with Bowman directly, but just talking from our sources down there, another strong recruiting visit. Bowman really had a strong tie. Strong ties there, good feelings. So again, you take it for a grain of salt, because every time a kid show up, it's always going to be a good visit. You're not going to hear the things that are in the forefront, but we feel confident that Ole Miss is still in it. But again, this is going to be a tough battle for this number one tight end. But again, Lane Kiffin was one of the guys who identified Bowman very early on his recruitment, before he kind of got that rise and that 5-star buzz. Bowman is a kid that I've had the opportunity to see, of course, thanks to OT7. He plays with Cali Power, just fantastic. Like I said, this is a guy not only with a huge frame, but he's got that tight end skill and that skill set, just really knows how to bend his body for those crazy catches. And there's just things I can go on and on about Mark Bowman. When you see him, he's electrifying. So again, this could be one of those recruitments that definitely NIL will matter. The big heavy hitters, but don't leave Lane Kiffin out in this, because like I said, Lane Kiffin was one of the first coaches to identify the potential of Mark Bowman, and was his first SEC offer. So again, this one could and we know the connection that Lane Kiffin has down to Mark Bowman's high school down there. His children attended there. So again, if anyone really was inside in relationship, it was Lane Kiffin on this one. So I still like Ole Miss where they stand, despite the Georgia buzz, despite the heavy hitters like Texas. Texas was also one of those programs, early on in the spring that we were hearing was making a lot of momentum. But I like where Lane Kiffin stands on this one. Like I said, this is going to be an interesting play. And hey, he might not get lucky in 2026, but leave it to Lane Kiffin to have one in the back pocket because he also got to host, by chance, a 2027 number one tight end 2027 in Ahmad Hudson. Ahmad was actually in Memphis. He's quite the elite ball player. He was out there for the Nike EYBL showcase in Memphis playing with his team down there, and he decided to take an impromptu visit. So again, his visit, we got to talk with him a little bit. I'm pulling up some of his quotes. You can check out the full story on Rebel Walk where we break it down with him. He really liked what he saw. Unfortunately, the weather, the time permits wasn't very long, so he looks forward to getting back into the SIP here soon. But again, like I said, if Ole Miss doesn't strike gold in this 2026 class, there's definitely a lot of potential in this 2027 class landing the number one tight end. Like I said, it would talk about the right place at the right time. They weren't expecting to get the opportunity to ready, to get in the thick of it with Ahmad Hudson, but they definitely did. You know, I was trying to pull up his quick quotes and everything. Let's see. He, like I said, he said that the weather. He said that.
Leanne
Oh,
always does all the work on this show, but she especially has to do all the work when I can't at least pull up the stats and the video and the tweets and all that. So you're especially shouldering everything, Leanne. So thank you.
yeah, like he said, unfortunately, he does look at making a visit back to Oxford, but he did take the opportunity, like we said, because he was just right there in Memphis. He said that it was very limited with the interaction due to the weather, but he said that the coaching staff that he got to talk with was really a high point in his short time visiting the Ole Miss campus. He said that, like I said, not only is he an extraordinary player, I do all the breakdown. Like I said, he can check the column over at the Rebel Walk later today when it hits my breakdown of his film. But he not just on the gridiron, but on the hardwood. And again, we really are seeing the comeback mark of not just two-way players, but also multi-sport players. And we talked to Hudson, like I said, he was in town, with his team on the EYBLE Nike circuit playing hoops. And I asked him, is this going to be a consideration for the team, your potential team? And he said, yeah, that's one of the things that he would like to continue. He said, not only would he like to continue to play football at the college level, but he would also like to look for a program that will allow him to play him, college hoops as well. So, Ole Miss definitely could be in the thick of it with when it comes. We know that Chris Beard has done an exceptional job, with the program since his arrival here, definitely taking Ole Miss a lot further than it's been in a long time. The NIL. So again, Ole Miss checking off a lot of the boxes early on, not just on the football end of things for Ahmad Hudson, but also on the basketball side of things. And what he just simply said about what he's appreciated so far early on in his recruitment, because again, this is a kid that's already gaining a lot of attention from a lot of big programs. But he said he really appreciated that, and a big reason why he decided to stop by is Ole Miss has just been really consistent in his recruitment. And he's, like he said, he's interested in returning to campus when the weather gets better so he can see an overall picture. But he likes what he sees. And again, he said that that he just can bring a lot to the table. Because I asked him, what do you think he's your X factor skill set that you could bring? He goes, well, it's not really. He's like, I really don't have an X factor. He's like, but I bring combination of everything that makes him different. And like I said, from what I've seen on film, as of late, not just on the football field, but on the hardwood mark, this is a kid that you can just really tell is got a lot of potential. And again, for him to make a surprise visit early on to Ole Miss shows kind of his interest. And I think that this will be another interesting recruitment. So again, it was all about the tight ends, the elite tight ends, not just in the 2026 class, but then 2027 class for Lane Kiffin. I know a lot of people have been asking, especially on the Ole Miss circuit, where's Lane Kiffin standing? You never got to worry about where Lane Kiffin in this Ole Miss ball club is standing. He like I said, he makes move in silence, and when big things happen or big things are brewing, you definitely know that he's got always something cooking. So again, a lot of 5-star buzz on this recruiting coup edition, but again, biggest I think headline is, will Tristan Keys, will Brian Kelly, will the Bayou Bengals be able to keep their elite 5-star status? And can they keep Tristan Keys, not only the number one wide receiver, but one of the top players in the country, but will they break the streak for the Ole Miss Rebels not landing the number one player in the state of Mississippi? We shall see. But again, as the dominoes fall, we'll be here. Like, tune in tomorrow for our on the move prime time. Got a lot of stuff cooking. Um, I know that we're not a football show, but I feel like right now I've been watching a lot of basketball show. So don't be surprised if we talk a little bit about basketball. We know that a lot of these kids now, they're on the Under Armour circuit, Nike circuit right now, playing with their club team. So again, it really has been interesting to see, Mark, that the return of these kids that aren't just running football, doing football and track. They're playing basketball, they're playing baseball, they're playing lacrosse. So again, I think the wave and those days of getting those true multi-sport athletes, especially at the high school level, are become more prevalent because, like I said, a lot of these kids are looking for a way to make themselves recruitable, marketable, and really show that they're trying to translate their skills. And I think why we're seeing a lot more of these kids become two-way players. That way they can, make a pitch when they have to go against the transfer portal kid who's got experience at the college level. Well, hey, they got experience at the college level, but look at what I'm doing right now. And you can put me on any part on this line, or you can put me in any, the secondary, you can put me in the offense, and I'm going to be explosive. So again, really interesting to see the dynamic shifts, but we are in the heart of official visit season, so you can bet that a lot of buzz and rumblings, and we'll be right here for it.
So I think it's important for everyone to know out there that when we get these reports from Leanne, she's not sitting on her rear end on her couch pulling in, message board quotes and just going to whatever recruiting site to pull in information. No, these are quotes that she is directly pulling from conversations that she has with the top players across the country. So she's in constant contact with these players. She does an excellent job of pulling in these interviews. So these are direct quotes from conversations that Leanne has had with the athletes. She goes to the camp, she goes to the 7-on-7s, she meets with the players, she meets with their parents. She is on top of it, and we are incredibly fortunate and blessed to have Leanne here at the Voice of College Football. So you got to tune into our show on the move Wednesday nights, 8:30 Eastern. And Leanne said to me a couple of weeks ago, Mark, what are we doing? We got to take calls. So we take your calls too, thanks to Leanne. So Leanne, and I also understand from today, from looking around Twitter today, that Mama can still shoot a goal.
Yeah, my oldest Hatfield is off from his school. Their private school let out early, so he's been on summer vacation already. But we're kind of easing. I think this is the first week I'm not on the road. I'll be in Houston on Sunday to cover the last home game for UFL, and of course, do some early summer visits and recruiting down there. But we had a lunch date, and we go out to this nice little hangar cafe that sits right on the airport, the small airport that's in town, and they have a place to play. And we took out our lacrosse sticks, and we turn into a skills practice. He's getting ready. Him and Parker are getting ready for their club select summer circuit. Playing with their lacrosse team and everything. So we got in a little bit of practice, and my shots weren't too bad. I played a little bit of club in college, and I coached them. I just, Mark, couldn't sit in the stands and just be that mom. So been lucky to be able to coach boys lacrosse and for a little bit now. Yeah. So our lunch actually turned into a recruiting talk and video watching, and then in a little late game of with sticks, shooting some lacrosse goals.
Nice. Love to hear it. All right, Leanne, we will catch up with you tomorrow, of course.
All right. Tune in. See you guys tomorrow.
Have a great day. All right. Yeah, we get together for our recruiting show, Transfer Portal. That's Wednesday nights, 8:30 Eastern. You know what always brings a smile to my face more than anything else that we do here at the Voice of College Football? I believe, if you would really watch, it's when Cheryl's in the chat. When Cheryl shows up, I think between Cheryl and George, and God bless Navy Thomas. I don't know where he is. Every so often he'll hit me up on Twitter, but I don't know that he's able to make the shows or what's going on with Navy Thomas, but I hope he's okay. But between those three, I think that they are the longest standing Voice of College Football members. So Cheryl, it's great to see you. Cheryl is a Buckeye who now resides in Arizona, and I hope everything's okay, Cheryl. Hope you're doing well, but appreciate you showing up and was glad to see you there in the chat because Cheryl is loyal beyond belief. Retiring, see, I'm having all sorts of issues with this. It took me like a show and a half just to figure out how to get your comments to the, I was actually using my other laptop to get the comments to the screen yesterday, and something is blocking the rest of your comments, Cheryl, but I can take it to the screen. I'm retiring road trips. Yeah, that would be a smart thing to do. So yes, good to see all of you here in the chat. Oh, Todd, I can't argue with that. Yes, I will give it up. My ego will not let me say that too many times concerning too many people, but when it comes to Leanne, sure. Yes, Leanne better than Mark. Any day, every day. I totally get it. You're right. You are right. We got our Iowa show coming up at 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central. And again, if you're just joining us and you're like, what's going on with Mark? Why does the show suck? Well, I'm sure some of you say, anyway, the show sucks. But like especially sucks, it's yes, we're on the phone. Which, if you have noticed, I actually kind of like doing this because I guess I'm getting my steps in. I get to walk around. This is nice. It's nice to be mobile doing the show. I kind of like this. It's different, but kind of limits us. So if you're just joining us, you can watch what you missed. Of course, you go back to the beginning of the show because I proposed a little challenge, a little exercise for, I know that's a bad word for many of us, exercise for many of you that like to fashion yourselves as like a NFL general manager type that has the video games where you build your franchise, or you're of course the general manager and the owner of your fantasy football team. Well, these college football teams are getting $20 million payrolls. Well, the athletic department, $20.5 million in the fall. So the football program is probably going to get about 17 million of that. Check out your roster of your favorite football team. Check out the roster and determine how would you distribute that money. We may do that in the next few weeks. The other thing we're working on here at the Voice of College Football would be all-time rankings. I have been working on the numbers. So we're going to display all the rankings of, man, this is so hard. I cannot scroll through the chat with my thumb. It's kind of difficult. But yes, all-time program rankings are coming up here in the next few weeks. We asked again on our poll, how much do you care about college football? And I do not have the exact wording of the poll. Yes, I do. So you can go to our community page, and possibly I'll post this on X as well. We've got 306 votes. How much has NIL in the transfer portal affected your love for college football? 45% say they're slightly annoyed. 24% say, I am sick to my stomach. 10% I've checked out, and 21% no change for you. Use your pinky. Use your pinky. It reminds me of an Elvis line, but we'll leave that alone. Okay. But I don't do that for anything else on my phone. It is really annoying. It's like highlighting and it's only giving me the option to copy, find selection, or translate. Yes, this is rather annoying. I have to click off. That doesn't even work. I think we're stuck with Minnie's comment the rest of the show. And we're stuck with me. No, we're not. Got it. Okay, what else did I want to cover today? It's a good question. Oh, we really need graphics for this. We really need graphics for this. So hang on for hopefully tomorrow's show. Definitely for Thursday's show, we want to go through week 1 betting lines. I've got them pulled up here somewhere. I just had them. Ohio State at Texas in Columbus. Ohio State's a 4.5-point favorite. 4.5. Notre Dame at Miami taking on the Hurricanes, and the Canes won this matchup. That was a famous game in 2017 in Hard Rock, the last time they played in Miami, and they blasted Notre Dame. Notre Dame, a 2.5-point favorite. I can't question that at this point. LSU at Clemson. Clemson, a 2.5-point favorite. Man, the people that love Clemson this year. Oh, man. People love Clemson this year. I know that they've got a lot back, but they've got a lot of production back from a good team, a decent team, not a really good team, not a really, really, really good team, a good team, a decent team. The best team in the ACC, well, they were the champions. Were they the best team in the ACC when they got pushed to a final 54-yard field goal to beat SMU in the championship game? They never played Miami. They did not play SMU in the regular season, so they did not play the other two best teams in the conference. I don't even think Clemson played Syracuse last year. And I am really impressed with Cade Klubnik's development. He's such a better quarterback than he was a couple years ago. Threw 41 touchdown passes against only, I believe, 5 picks. But man, their schedule was weak, and they beat no one. But Clemson, 2.5-point favorite at home against LSU. Man, that's going to be a good game. If I could only watch one game in week 1, it seems pretty obvious Ohio State, Texas is the headliner. But LSU and Clemson. Love that matchup. Alabama goes to Florida State. Bama's an 8.5-point favorite. We know what a catastrophe FSU was last year. All right. I also found a site that had the complete week 0 lines. But again, this is a exercise for another day. I know, Jacob, they beat SMU, but I was talking about the regular season. That's what I was talking about when I said 54-yard field goal. Yes, Clemson beat SMU on the last play of the game in the ACC championship game. But during the regular season, Clemson's best win I don't believe that Clemson beat a team with a winning record last year. Georgia Tech. They always play Georgia Tech. They beat Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech went 7-6. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was Clemson's best regular season win. Didn't play Miami. Didn't play Syracuse. Didn't play SMU. Lost their 2 non-conference games against South Carolina. Close game. Should have won the game. Fumbled late to give Lenore Sellers a chance to drive the Gamecocks down the field for the winning touchdown. So it wasn't like they got outplayed by South Carolina, let alone dominated. But they lost the game. And, of course, they got blasted by Georgia. Minnie says, use your pinky. Not work. Oh, that little window down there. Got a question coming in from our buddy Tim. Mark, how confident are you in the new coordinators at Ohio State this year? This is one of these deals where you got to trust the process. You got to trust the program. It's like when you watch your favorite NFL team make a draft selection that you don't agree with, and you say, you know what? It's Belichick. I'm going to trust him. It's fill in the blank. I'm going to trust them. It's the Steelers back in the day when they never missed draft picks under Knoll and Cowher, and can't think of who was running the show back then. Wow. general manager for the Steelers. But you get my deal. I am not highly impressed with Matt Patricia as a defensive coordinator. I do not believe in any way that they upgraded on the defensive side of the ball. If they stayed even with arguably, not saying Jim Knowles is the best defensive coordinator in the country, but he's in the conversation. They did not maintain that level of detail and coaching acumen with Matt Patricia. He is going to have to prove it to me. Now, to his defense, if we're sitting here in a year, let's say Ohio State has a marginal season by Ohio State standards. They go 10-2, they make the playoff, they win a game, then they lose a game. And it's like, okay, well, that was not an utter collapse, but they didn't reach their goals. They were okay. And the defense is the 15th best defense in the country. Well, their personnel is not as good this year as it was last year. It's not as experienced. If we are going to count star rankings on the defensive side for Ohio State, on both sides of the ball, we're going to find just as many star rankings. But man, they're going to be hard pressed to replace the experienced talent of Tyleik Williams in the middle, JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer. Man, those guys were game wreckers. Sawyer turned out to be a beast. Tyleik Williams had an exceptional season. So defensively, Lathan Ransom, their losses are substantial. So to hold Matt Patricia to that standard when he's not going to have the experience in a first-year defense, they could have some rough spots there. And they've really got to be on point, obviously, in week one when they're facing all that Texas speed on offense. And that wide receiver core with obviously an inexperienced quarterback, but Arch Manning got his feet wet, and he's going to be prepared. If his work ethic is anything like his uncle's, then yeah, he is going to know the Ohio State defense by the time they get to Columbus. So on the defensive side, I am not highly optimistic, but I got to trust if Ohio State deemed Matt Patricia worthy of that selection, then he was the guy to take. And the players have raved about him during winter workouts and spring practice. They raved about him. On the offensive side, between Brian Hartline, I think that Ohio State made a smart move by including Tyler Bowen, who was the offensive line coach at was the offensive coordinator at Virginia Tech, as offensive line coach. You've got an experienced play caller at the power conference level at a place like Virginia Tech to supplement and help Brian Hartline. Brian Hartline has he's got a supporting cast. He's got looking for a particular kind of term. He's got a support system in Ryan Day and Tyler Bowen. So they're not going to let him fail. So I'm much more confident on the offensive side of the ball. Is Ryan Day going to call plays? Well, no, he's not going to call plays. He did not call plays last year, and he's out of that game. But when it's 17-14 against Michigan in the fourth quarter, is he going to be meddling in the offense? Probably. Troy's got a good response to it because obviously there's developing the game plan and then there's actually calling the plays, and those are two separate but related disciplines. And I'm having trouble again navigating the chat. Exactly. So I'm going to basically, if I could, I can't get this comment to the screen. But anyway, Beefeater, Notre Dame, 08. I cannot imagine a better DC than when Ohio State lost. Yeah, that's my thought there. It's not necessarily just a knock against Matt Patricia. And DDR 256 makes a comment about, separating the analysis and the evaluation of Matt Patricia at New England as a defensive coordinator, where I've seen some people pick apart the numbers and therefore they picked apart Matt Patricia's defensive performance. But of course, he was not a good head coach. Troy's more worried about Hartline. I'm not, just because of the support system. I'm not. This is really annoying. Yeah, I think you guys are jumping the gun just a little bit. Number one, is the offense going to struggle? Is that really, is there much probability there that the offense is really going to struggle? And I think they're going to be very careful about Ryan Day just yanking play calling away from Brian Hartline. I don't think they want to put themselves in a place where they're making Brian Hartline look bad. All right. Believe we've done just about as much damage as we can do today. Again, we hope we get back to a normal setup here. Although, again, I love being able to walk around. Shoot, I was going to walk the block, but I don't think my connection would stay. And we will get together at 4 p.m. Eastern on a Wednesday. And keep in mind that we've got the Iowa show coming up in 15 minutes on the Iowa channel with Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm. And, man, we've got a lot of great things in store here at the Voice of College Football. So just get ready. It's going to be a big summer leading into 2025. If you are able to, please contribute financially. We appreciate your financial contributions. If you're not, don't worry about it. Just please like and comment and do all those good things to help support the show. Share on social media. Just be a Jackson, basically. Just be Jackson. All right. Appreciate you being here. We'll see you in 15 minutes on the Iowa channel. Now I got to figure out how to shut this thing down. There it is. End.